こんにちは、ハリケーンフットボールです。今回は久しぶりにアリスの動画をご紹介します。アリスはマンチェスターユナイテッドのファンですが、他のチームに関しても詳しい解説を多くやっています。今回はブライトンというよりも、トッテナムの劇的すぎる悲惨な敗北を受け、動画を作ったのだと思いますが、トッテナムに焦点を置きながらも、三笘薫にも触れられずにはいかない、といったところでした。どのような評価をしたのでしょうか。チェックしてみましょう。
I cannot believe this. Brighton 3, Tottenham 2. What happened in that second half? Because the first half, Tottenham were incredible. I filmed my match reaction to the Manchester United Aston Villa game at half time. And in my match reaction, I was saying, Tottenham are 2-0 up, they're playing fantastic football. This is Ange's second season. I can see the progress he's making. And I was comparing it to 10-0 because I was, moaning about Manchester United. I don't know if I've jinxed it because I've put that video out and now every comment is saying, let's check the Spurs score. I don't know if I jinxed it. But the way Tottenham were in that first half was incredible. I was sitting there like, I am so jealous of what's going on at Tottenham. And I do think for the most part, I know a few results haven't gone Tottenham's way, but I think we are seeing progress under Ange for Tottenham. I think Tottenham have sometimes not got results in games, but I think, they should have probably got 3 points versus Leicester. I think if they were more clinical, they could have got 3 points versus Newcastle. And that second half versus Tottenham was a proper performance. It was proper Ange ball. So that first half, but that second half was shambolic. It was Brighton came up, they refreshed the midfield, they had the energy, they had the legs. It seemed mental. It seemed like a mentality thing. Now, if you look at the sort of statistics, Brighton had 4 big chances to Tottenham's 1. XG was relatively similar. Tottenham had more possession. Tottenham had dominated possession every game this season. But those Spursy defensive mistakes and those Spursy moments, bottling a lead, was still in Tottenham. And it's crazy because I felt that you were unbelievable in the first half. Kulusevski, Solanke, I'm going to talk about the first half performances because they were incredible. To then in the second half, giving the ball away. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is my perspective as a Manchester United fan. I didn't watch the Europa League game the other day, so I don't know how that went. Although I saw a highlight of Mikey Moore and he looked quite good in that game. But I don't think today was completely on Ange. I think Ange should have made his substitutions earlier. He should be making the substitutions at 2-2, not waiting for you to go 3-2 down to make it, because when it's 2-2, it was coming. Brighton came out in that second half faster. They got the early goal. They were on it. That gave them momentum. They made it 2-2. If I'm Ange, I'm making the subs there and then. I'm not waiting till 3-2. That, I think, is what Ange got wrong. Potentially Moore could start over Werner. That's, I think, what Ange got wrong. But I do feel that was more on the players than the manager today. I think Ange could have done better with his substitutions. But if you look at the first half performance and how Ange set Tottenham up, they were fantastic. They were 2-0 up. And I felt that in the second half, Tottenham thought it was going to be easy. Brighton made some changes. Brighton were up for it. And Tottenham was sort of shocked. And in the second half, they couldn't get the ball to Solanke. They weren't making things happen. And I felt that actually, the goals that Tottenham conceded came really through individual errors. Ange gets a lot of stick for how he sets Tottenham up very offensively, and he does set Tottenham up offensively, so they can be a little bit vulnerable defensively. But I felt Udogi's been very poor lately. He could have done better. I think the players switched off a little bit at the back, and I think Brighton's goals, I think, were preventable had Udogi not made that little mistake, or had Tottenham been a bit more switched on. I think Tottenham could have done better defensively. But I do think Ange should have made his subs earlier. Now, I want to be honest, Brennan Johnson scores again, confidence, he's looking good. I thought Solanke and Kulusevski were incredible at first. They were fantastic, and I wrote loads about them in the first half, which feels like because of the second half, I think Tottenham will be like, oh, the first half doesn't matter. I apologise for that lag. I completely lagged out there. But what I was trying to say is I think, Tottenham fans, because of how the second half went, I think what was done by Solanke and what was done by Kulusevski in the first half, I think Tottenham fans are sort of like, because the second half performance is overshadowed, I think, a lot of big positives from the first half. Now, I think Udogi's been quite poor this season. Now, I like Destiny Udogi. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he was one of the best left-backs in the Premier League last season. And I still think he's an unbelievable player. I would take him at Manchester United. But I don't think he's been at his best this season. And I think Ange made a big mistake not having Spence in the Europa League squad, because that's going to put that pressure on Udogi to run him down to the ground. He had a big injury at the end of last season. I think Ange was a bit silly not to take Spence in the Europa League squad, because I think that Spence looked all right in pre-season. I don't think Spencer's looked too bad, and I think he's a player that, in terms of his athletic characteristics, I know his work rate and his mentality has been questioned, but I think he could do a job under Ange. But going back to Tottenham, I think it was defensive errors. I think it was lapses in concentration that cost Tottenham today. I think Mitoma was unbelievable for Brighton. And I will say this, Mitoma's an Ange Postecoglou player. You know what? I think Tottenham not getting Eze probably was worked well for you guys, because I think Maddison and Kulu had good seasons and Eze's more of a central player. But I think the guy that Tottenham maybe needed was Mitoma. Maybe Mitoma was the one, because I look at Tottenham and what they need on, and I think it is another winger to take the reliance off Son. And I know Mikey Moore's coming through, but he's so young. But if you had Son, Moore, Mitoma and Brennan Johnson, that's 4 really good wing options. Son sort of coming towards the end of his career. He's still got a few years left. And Mikey Moore's at the beginning. And then you've got 2 that are sort of in the prime. But I think that's very good wing options for Tottenham. I thought Mitoma was fantastic. I think he's a proper Ange player. And you could see the issues he was causing Tottenham. And I think, Tottenham did, lack that leadership and lack that response and crumble with a little bit of mentality. But I do look at it. But generally, I'm going to talk about the first half performance from Solanke and Kulu, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about Tottenham. But I generally think that despite this, the first half was fantastic from Tottenham. I can see what Ange is trying to do. And I think Tottenham are a team that they're not in a title challenge. It's going to be hot and cold. But I still think Tottenham can finish in the Champions League place from what I've seen of them season. I still think what Ange is doing all right. I just think Tottenham have got these Tottenham moments in them, if I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say one thing as well. It might be the Man United curse. Every team that has beaten us has lost their next game. Liverpool lost to Forest after beating Manchester United. Every team that's beaten us, which is most teams, Brighton lost their next game. I can't remember who it was, after beating Manchester United. Tottenham beat Manchester United and lost their next game. There seems to be some kind of curse of, you don't want to beat Manchester United because you're going to lose your next game, believe it or not. But look, I thought Solanke in the first half was incredible, if I'm going to be honest. And I think because he got nothing in the second half and no service and didn't touch the ball in the second half, it could be overshadowed. But I thought his first half performance was incredible. I think, for me, he was the standout player in the first half, him and Kulu. His passing, his hold-up play, I think he was key to both goals. Obviously, for the first goal, that really good ball into Johnson, perfectly weighted pass. For the second goal, he held up the ball really well. But with Solanke, I see this superb pressing, superb hold-up play. I thought he was fitting into the team. I thought the players around him looked good because he brought that focal point to Spurs. And he has got 2 goals and 3 goals and 2 assists in his last 4 starts at Tottenham. So very good statistics. And I felt that he was dropping deeper to what he used to do at Bournemouth. But I thought he was really linking with the wing as well in the first half. Second half was a bit of a different story, but I don't think that was on Solanke himself. But I thought in the first half he was relieving the pressure. He was helping the team get the ball out the pitch. His pressing, his carrying, his passing, his ability to create chances. I think he put in an all-round performance, and I think you could see exactly why Ange went for a Solanke over an Ivan Toney, but particularly with his pressing and all of that as well. But he's a very impactful striker. Even though he didn't score today, I thought he was fantastic in the first half. The play, the movement, drawing out space, drawing out defenders, winning fouls, holding possession, the little flicks, the little passes. I thought that he was really good, and I think he showcased his intelligence, his movement and everything. And another guy I thought was really good, and to be honest, I don't think he had a bad second half. I felt that his ball retention was really good and he was getting stuck in duels. He must have won quite a lot of duels, but I think Kulusevski's probably been having the most underrated season in the Premier League so far. I think pressing was relentless. I think he paired well with Maddison. I think him and Maddison work well together, but he is a little bit defensively weak. But I feel like Ange, has transformed him into the all-action midfielder that everyone thought Tottenham needed. Everyone thought Tottenham needed Eze, but I think Kulu has been Tottenham's best player this season in general. I think his work rate is unbelievable. He's always chasing people down. I think his ability to win duels, and when he wins the ball, he can retain it quite well because he's got that physical strength to hold off players. And I think his physicality and work rate is something that he brings that is really important. I think he can carry the ball, and him and Solanke worked well. But I think he really helps him build up. I think Romero, Kulu, Brennan, Porro, it was the right half space build up in the first half the right hand side build up in the first half was fantastic from Tottenham. And Kulusevski, when he was in the tight spaces, can hold off the players, can turn. He was, helping there be fluid. But I just think it just sort of dropped off in the second half. And I thought that what Kulu did in the first half, the underlapping runs on the right, helping unlock the attack, helping the build up, the movement, the sink, it sort of phased out a little bit in the second half as Tottenham lost control and they went a little bit erratic. But I think Ange moving Kulu from a winger to a midfielder has been one of the smartest things he's done. But Spurs have issues. Saw this from the Spurs watch. This team could not defend unless we have complete control of games. The moment our backs are against the wall, we crumble. Leicester, Newcastle, Brighton. Tottenham's defensive mistakes have let them down this season from really, they could be on 6 more points this season if it wasn't for defensive errors. If you want my opinion, I think, you've had a very good, you guys have had very good moments in games, sorry. And I feel like you had a really good first half versus Leicester and a really good first half versus Brighton. But something's happening in the second half where mentally the switch goes and then the issues come in. And it's like you can see what Ange is trying to do in the first half of the game and it's really good. But then it goes and it's Ange got to work on that, the players have got to work on that. But I think there's definitely a little bit of a mentality issue. Postecoglou said, we didn't do what we needed to do at the level. That's non-negotiable. We didn't compete, lost the duels, lacked the intensity. It doesn't matter where it came from. It's unacceptable. You're not going to win every game. But that's the first time I feel we lost the game in that manner. Ange said it was his worst game so far at Tottenham in that sense. I think to an element it was. I think Ange should have made his midfield substitutions a lot earlier because Brighton made changes in midfield and they had that intensity. And I felt that was where Tottenham were losing the game, despite that midfield three looking very good against United. And at the end of the day, I think Ange could have made subs earlier, but I don't think it was all on Tottenham. I saw this. People watch the third goal and say Ange is naive, high line again, blah, blah, blah. But let's be honest, I think the individuals could have done better. Second goal, I think the doggy could have done better. And I think that, Ange is someone that should be given time at Tottenham. I think it can work. But I think Tottenham have got to get rid of these Spursy mistakes and mentality and lapses in concentration. Tottenham fans, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.
次は解説です。ケンブリッジ出身のアリスは少し独特のアクセントを話し、特に弱く発音する部分が聞き取りにくい気がします。そもそも話すスピードも速く、さらにマイクやネット環境もあまり良くなさそうなので声が割れることもあり、リスニングとしては難しく感じるかもしれませんが、比較的難しい表現や珍しいスラングなどは多くない一方で、口語でよく使われるような慣用的な表現、イディオムは少なくないので、ネイティブの表現を勉強するには良いと思います。それでは解説を見てみましょ
う。Because I was, moaning about Manchester United.
モーンは英語で不満を言う、うめくといった意味を持つ動詞です。物理的な痛みや苦痛を感じた時のうめき声や何かに対する不平や愚痴を言うことを意味し、文脈に応じてネガティブな感情を表す場面で使われます。不満を言うという意味で使うのはアメリカでは少ないようでイギリスの方が多いようです。
Because I was, moaning about Manchester United. Because I was, moaning about Manchester United. I don't know if I've jinxed it.
ジンクスは英語で不運をもたらすものや不運を引き起こす行為を意味し名詞や動詞で使われます。日本語ではジンクスとして名詞としてしか使われませんが、英語では動詞としても使われます。
I don't know if I've jinxed it. I don't know if I've jinxed it. But that second half was shambolic. But that second half was shambolic. But that second half was shambolic. Brighton were up for it and Tottenham was sort of shocked.
be up for は抽象的な表現ですが、何かに対してアップしている。つまり準備ができている、乗り気である、関心がある、という、何かのためにそこにいる、というニュアンスや、何かに対して名前が挙がっている、つまり指名されている、候補となっている、という意味でも使われます。
Brighton were up for it and Tottenham was sort of shocked. Brighton were up for it and Tottenham was sort of shocked. So they can be a little bit vulnerable defensively. So they can be a little bit vulnerable defensively. And I think Brighton's goals, I think were preventable. And I think Brighton's goals, I think were preventable. And I think Brighton's goals, I think were preventable because the second half performance is overshadowed.
オーバーシャドウは比喩的に使われる動詞で、影を薄くするや見劣りさせるという意味があります。日本語で言うと、影に隠れるというとイメージがつきやすいでしょ
う。Because the second half performance is overshadowed. Because the second half performance is overshadowed. To run him down to the ground. と 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 run him down to the ground to run him down to the ground and crumble a little bit of mentality.
クランブルはイギリスのデザートでもありますが、動詞として崩れるや崩壊するという意味があり、ポロポロ崩れるという意味合いがあります。物理的なものが崩れたり、比喩的に状況や精神状態が崩れる様子を表すのに使われます。
And crumble a little bit of mentality. And crumble a little bit of mentality. It's going to be hot and cold.
ホット&コールドは前回の動画でも出ましたが、感情やパフォーマンスが安定せず、良い時もあれば悪い時もある。ムラがあることを表現するイディオムです。人の性格的に親密にしたり、そっけなかったりするような気分屋のような人を表現する時にも使われます。
It's going to be hot and cold. It's going to be hot and cold. It might be the Man United curse. It might be the Man United curse. It might be the Man United curse. The play, the movement, drawing out space. The play, the movement, drawing out space. The play, the movement, drawing out space. I think he was pressing, was relentless.
リレントレスは容赦ない。や、絶え間ない。という意味の形容詞です。何かが止まらずに続く様子や、厳しくて情け容赦のない態度や行動を表すときに使われます。ポジティブにもネガティブにも使える表現です。容赦ないという意味では、ルースレスという言葉もよく使われますが、リレントレスは絶え間なく続く。情け容赦なく続ける。というニュアンスで使われ、ルースレスは冷酷な。情け容赦のないというニュアンスで使われます。
I think he was pressing, was relentless. And he was, helping there be fluid, but helping there be fluid, but the moment our backs are against the wall, we crumble. The moment our backs are against the wall, we crumble. The moment our backs are against the wall, we crumble. But I think Tottenham have got to get rid of these. But I think Tottenham have got to get rid of these Spursy mistakes and mentality and lapses in concentration. Rid of these Spursy mistakes and mentality and lapses in concentration. These Spursy mistakes and mentality and lapses in concentration.
いかがでしたか？アリスはマンチェスターユナイテッドファンでありながら、他のチームの選手も客観的に見て評価するのが良いですよね。昨シーズンは遠藤航についてもたくさん褒めちぎっていましたが、今シーズンはグラフェンバークを褒めちぎって止まりません。動画のコメント欄で、アリスの動画が最近ないのなぜですか？という質問もありましたが、遠藤航の話はもうほとんどされることはなく、他の日本人の話も出ることはありませんでしたので、他の動画も面白いですし勉強にもなるので本当はもっと紹介したいのですが、皆さんはおそらく見られないでしょうから、現状では日本人の話があった場合のみ紹介したいと思っています。今後は三笘薫の活躍によって、または他の日本人の活躍によって取り上げられることがあるのか、期待しましょう。今回もご視聴いただきありがとうございます。またすぐにお会いしましょう。